I've had to make one of the most difficult decisions in my life, and I do not regret the stand I took. I will tell you everything that happened so that you can judge if I did well. Marcus's paintings lined every corner of the room, bursts of color on canvas that seemed to capture the dreams we shared. He worked tirelessly in the far corner, brush in hand, his brows furrowed in concentration as he tried to bring another vision to life. I couldn't help but smile, even as my hands ached from hours of typing at one of my 3 part-time jobs. "How's it coming along?" I asked, leaning against the doorway of his makeshift studio. He looked up and grinned, his brown eyes full of that unshakable optimism I loved. "Almost there. This one feels like it could be the piece, Elena." We'd had that conversation before. Every new painting was the one that might catch the eye of a gallery owner or an affluent buyer, and every time, we ended up disappointed. But Marcus never stopped believing, and I couldn't bring myself to dampen his hope. Still, the weight of our bills piled up in the back of my mind. Rent was due in a week, and my paychecks barely covered groceries. I didn't resent Marcus for it, I admired his courage to chase his dream. But sometimes, I wished we had more, a little more stability, a little less stress. That evening, while Marcus worked on his painting, I prepared for a networking event downtown. It was part of my temporary project assisting with the logistics of a high-profile charity auction. The event was my chance to meet influential people, the kind who might open doors for my career, or so I hoped. The venue was dazzling, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors, a stark contrast to our humble apartment. I felt out of place in my thrift dress, but I reminded myself that I belonged here, even if only for tonight. That's when I met him. Victor Rosto was impossible to ignore. His presence commanded the room, his tailored suit a perfect match for his sharp, calculated demeanor. At 64, his silver hair and piercing gaze gave him the air of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. I was introduced to him briefly by my supervisor, but even in those few moments, his attention lingered on me longer than was necessary. "Elena," he said, his voice smooth and measured, "your work on this event has been impressive. You seem capable beyond your years." "Thank you, Mr. Rostov," I replied, trying to keep my tone professional, though his intense gaze unsettled me. For the rest of the evening, I felt his eyes on me, a subtle yet persistent presence in the background. When the event wrapped up, I breathed a sigh of relief and hurried home to Marcus. As I walked through the door, the scent of paint and the sight of his latest canvas brought me back to the life I cherished. Marcus kissed my forehead, asking about my night, and I smiled, telling him about the glitz and glamour I had witnessed. But I didn't tell him about Victor Rostov. I didn't think he was worth mentioning, not yet. Little did I know how quickly that would change. A few days after the charity auction, a delivery arrived at my apartment. The courier handed me a sleek black box tied with an elegant silver ribbon. My name was written on the tag in bold, confident handwriting, Elena. Inside, I found a stunning pair of pearl earrings nestled in velvet, accompanied by a note. "Elena, thank you for your exceptional efforts. Your dedication doesn't go unnoticed. Victor Rostov." I stared at the earrings, my heart pounding. They were exquisite, delicate, shimmering, and far beyond anything I could ever afford. I hesitated, unsure of how to feel. Gratitude? Flattery? Guilt? I wasn't used to gestures like this. That evening, when Marcus got home from delivering food orders to make ends meet, he noticed the box on the table. "What's this?" he asked casually. "A gift," I said carefully, handing him the note. His brow furrowed as he read it. "From Rostov? That's a little much, isn't it?" I shrugged, trying to sound indifferent. "It's probably just a thank you. You know how these business types are, trying to impress people." Marcus looked at the earrings again, then at me, his lips pressed into a thin line. "You're not considering keeping them, are you?" I hesitated, then nodded. "It's just a gesture, Marcus. Returning them would seem rude." He didn't push further, but the unease in his eyes lingered. The gifts didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, Victor's gestures became increasingly bold. A bouquet of rare orchids delivered to my workplace. An invitation to an exclusive gala with a handwritten note urging me to attend as his guest. At first, I tried to dismiss them, insisting to myself, and to Marcus, that it was all professional. But the way Victor spoke to me when we crossed paths made me question everything. His words were laced with charm, his compliments tinged with something deeper. "You're a rare gem, Elena," he said one evening at a business mixer. "I see potential in you that others overlook." His tone was intoxicating, but his words left me uneasy. Meanwhile, Marcus began to notice the change. "You've been so busy lately," he said one evening, as I returned home late from yet another event. "It's like I barely see you anymore." "I'm doing this for us," I replied, my voice defensive. "These opportunities could open doors, for both of us." He sighed, setting his paintbrush down. "I know you're trying, Elena. But sometimes it feels like, I don't know, like you're slipping away." His words stung because they held a grain of truth. I was slipping, caught between the life we'd built and the life Victor dangled in front of me. Across town, in an opulent penthouse, Sophia Rosto was beginning to connect the dots. Victor had always been attentive but discreet in his flirtations, never allowing his indiscretions to disrupt their carefully curated image. But this time, she sensed something different. His mood had shifted, lighter, more eager, and the name Elena had slipped from his lips one too many times. Sophia's instincts kicked in. A few discreet calls to her social connections confirmed her suspicions. Elena wasn't from their world. She was young, ambitious, and vulnerable, perfect prey for Victor. Sophia wasn't the type to confront recklessly. No, she preferred to strategize. And as she gathered more information about me, I unknowingly walked deeper into the web. Victor's invitations became harder to refuse. The galas, the private dinners, the whispered assurances that he could help me achieve things I'd only dreamed of, it was like a door to a new world had cracked open, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to step through or slam it shut. But with every step I took into Victor's orbit, Marcus seemed to pull further away. His frustration simmered beneath the surface, manifesting in quiet sighs and unspoken words. One evening, after a particularly tense conversation, I found myself sitting alone in our dimly lit apartment, staring at the pearl earrings. I held them in my hands, feeling the weight of my choices. Victor's world promised luxury, stability, and opportunities I'd never dared to imagine. But at what cost? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on the edge of something that could change everything, for better or for worse. The weight of the earrings still hung around my neck, a constant reminder of the life I was being offered, a life so far removed from the one Marcus and I had carved out together. Every day, I woke with a knot in my stomach, unsure of what path to take. The apartment was quiet one morning, the only sound the brush of Marcus's footsteps as he stepped lightly across the room. He had grown quieter in recent weeks, retreating into his art, his silence becoming a silent accusation that I didn't know how to answer. I remember the first time I truly felt the full weight of the choice before me. It came on a rainy Thursday night. The kind of evening where everything feels heavier, where the decision seems almost too big to confront. Victor had invited me to another of his lavish private dinners, this one at an exclusive restaurant known only to the elite. When I arrived, he greeted me with his signature charm, taking my hand with a soft, lingering touch that made my heart skip a beat. He led me to the center of the room, where a table draped in silk awaited us, candles flickering with a soft, almost hypnotic glow. "Tonight, Elena," he said, his voice low and serious, "I want to talk about your future. About the life I want to give you." His words cut through the haze of uncertainty that had clouded my mind for weeks. "I know what it's like to struggle," Victor continued, his eyes intense. "I know what it's like to feel like you're barely scraping by, to wonder if your dreams are worth the cost. But I can offer you something different. A life without worry, without doubt. I can give you freedom from all of that." I swallowed hard. "You don't understand. Marcus and I." "Marcus," he interrupted, his voice smooth, "is a wonderful man. But he doesn't have what it takes to give you the life you deserve. I do." His words twisted in my chest. I wanted to argue, to defend Marcus and everything we had built together, but the truth of his offer was undeniable. He wasn't just offering money. He was offering freedom, freedom from the stress, the constant struggle, the fear of losing everything. Victor leaned in closer, his breath warm against my ear. I see you, Elena. Not just your potential, but who you truly are. You don't have to choose between love and security. I can give you both. A future that's yours, one where you can soar. My heart pounded, but I couldn't speak. The temptation was overwhelming. The very next day, as I was walking through the city to meet a client, I ran into Sophia. She was as poised and elegant as ever, her tall figure cutting through the crowd with the kind of quiet power I'd learned to recognize. She didn't look surprised to see me, though I hadn't expected her to be here, in the heart of the city, where she rarely ventured. Miss Elena, she said, her voice calm but with an edge of something darker, a moment of your time? I followed her into a nearby cafe, where we took a seat in a secluded corner. I know what you're doing with my husband, she said, her tone matter-of-fact. And I want you to understand something, Elena. Victor may promise you everything, but nothing comes without a cost. I bristled, the words feeling like a slap, even though her voice remained level. She leaned forward, her eyes cold. If you think you can play this game and come out unscathed, you are sorely mistaken. I will ruin your reputation, your career, your very future, if you continue to entertain this. You think Victor will leave me for you? No. But he'll make sure you're nothing when he tires of you. Her words struck like poison, each syllable sinking deeper into my chest. I had never seen her like this, calm, collected, yet seething beneath the surface. She finished her tea, her smile almost predatory. Take my advice, Elena. Stay in your lane. Your dreams won't be worth the cost of your dignity. Trust me. That evening, I returned home to find Marcus in the kitchen, his back turned as he prepared a modest dinner. He hadn't said much all day, but tonight, the silence was different, it was thick, charged. He turned as I entered, his eyes scanning my face for any trace of what had happened. Elena, we need to talk. I nodded, my heart already racing. You've been distant, he continued, his voice quiet but firm. I've seen the way you've been acting, going to those events, accepting those gifts. From him. His voice cracked slightly, but he held my gaze. Is there something going on between you and Victor? Are you choosing him over us? I wanted to deny it, to reassure him, but the guilt lodged itself firmly in my throat. I could feel the weight of the choices I'd made. The gifts, the dinners, the promises. I could feel Victor's pull like a magnet, drawing me in despite everything I'd once believed in. I'm not choosing him, Marcus, I said, my voice barely a whisper. But I don't know what to do anymore. He's offering a life that you what? Marcus interrupted, his frustration turning into anger. A life that you deserve? Elena, we have dreams. We have each other. This isn't about money, it's about us, and you're losing sight of that. Don't you see what you're doing? I opened my mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. How could I explain the part of me that longed for what Victor could give me? How could I explain how that part of me was growing louder, drowning out everything I had once believed in? Is that it then? Marcus's voice broke through my thoughts. You're willing to betray everything we've built, for what? A comfortable life? I couldn't answer him. I just stood there, silent, as the truth of his words sank into the space between us. The storm inside me was growing, and I didn't know how much longer I could hold it back. Everything I had worked for, everything Marcus and I had shared, was slipping through my fingers. And all the while, Victor's promises of freedom, of security, echoed in my mind, tempting me with a life that felt both unreachable and inevitable. The weight of my decision had grown unbearable, like a storm brewing in my chest. Every glance at Marcus was a reminder of the life we had built, the dreams we had whispered late into the night. But every thought of Victor carried a shimmering vision of a future I never dared imagine, a future without struggle, without limits. I sat alone in our dimly lit apartment one evening, Marcus out at an art gallery trying to find potential buyers for his latest piece. The quiet seemed louder than usual, the ticking of the clock in the kitchen echoing like a countdown to some inevitable moment. Victor's words replayed in my mind, "You deserve more, Elena. Let me give it to you." Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Victor. "Meet me tomorrow evening. I have something important to tell you. You'll understand everything then." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I knew what he meant. This was it, the moment where I would have to decide. The next evening, I stood outside a luxury penthouse downtown, my reflection caught in the towering glass doors. My breath fogged the chilly air as I tried to calm the storm of emotions within me. Victor opened the door himself, his usual polished demeanor slightly softened, his eyes warm and inviting. "Elena," he said, leading me to the private rooftop. A table was set, adorned with roses and flickering candles. "This is beautiful," I murmured, unable to meet his gaze. "It's all for you," he said simply. "Everything could be yours." We sat, and Victor leaned forward, his voice softer than I had ever heard it. "I know what people will say. I know what they'll think. But I also know what I feel. You've brought something into my life I thought I'd lost long ago: passion, excitement, hope. I'm offering you not just a life of comfort, but one where you can thrive, where your talents and brilliance can shine without being dimmed by the weight of hardship." He reached across the table, his hand brushing mine. "Say yes, Elena. To me. To this. To everything." I hesitated, the words trapped in my throat. Just as I was about to speak, a sharp voice cut through the moment. "I see the show has started." I turned to see Sophia standing near the rooftop entrance, her presence as commanding as a queen entering her court. "Sophia," Victor began, but she raised a hand to silence him. "Elena," she said, her tone calm but laced with venom. "Do you know who this man really is? Do you know how many others have sat in that very seat, hearing those very promises?" Her words hit me like a slap. "What are you talking about?" I managed to ask. "Victor is a master of this game," she continued. "He finds young women, fills their heads with dreams of wealth and security, and then when he's done, he casts them aside. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. Do you think you're special? That you'll be the exception?" "Sophia, that's enough," Victor said, his voice sharp. "No, Victor," she snapped. "It's not enough. You've spent decades using your power to toy with people's lives. But this time, it stops here." She turned to me, her eyes cold. "If you think I'm going to let you ruin my marriage and walk away unscathed, you're mistaken. I've already spoken to your employer about your extracurricular activities. They were quite interested. And if you think your reputation can withstand the whispers I'll set loose, you don't understand the world you're trying to step into." The blood drained from my face. "Please," I said, my voice trembling, "this isn't what you think." "It's exactly what I think," Sophia interrupted. "So, here's my advice: walk away now, while you still can. Save what little dignity you have left." She turned on her heel and left, her footsteps echoing into the night. Victor reached for me, his voice full of regret. "Elena, don't listen to her. She's trying to scare you. What we have is real. You have to know that." I stared at him, my mind spinning. Could I trust him? Could I trust myself? When I returned home, Marcus was waiting for me. He didn't need to ask where I'd been, the answer was written all over my face. "Elena," he said quietly, his voice heavy with hurt. "I need to know right now, are you choosing him?" Tears welled in my eyes. "Marcus, I..." "Don't," he said, his voice breaking. "Don't lie to me. If you want to leave, just say it. But don't stand here and pretend everything's fine while you're considering it." The anguish in his eyes shattered something inside me. I realized that no matter what choice I made, someone would be left broken. "I don't know," I whispered finally. His face crumpled, and he turned away. Then maybe that's the answer. Alone in the silent apartment that night, I stared at the earrings Victor had given me, their brilliance mocking me. I thought of Sophia's threat, of Victor's promises, of Marcus's love. I thought of the woman I wanted to be and the life I wanted to lead. And I realized that no matter which path I chose, there would be no going back. The morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, softening the sharp lines of our modest apartment. I sat at the small kitchen table, turning Victor's diamond earrings over in my hands one last time. They glimmered in the light, cold and beautiful, but they felt heavier than ever. Marcus had already left for his studio, our last conversation still hanging in the air like a storm cloud. His parting words, full of hurt, had cut deeper than I'd realized. That's when I knew I couldn't live like this. I couldn't keep standing at a crossroads, waiting for someone else to decide which way I should go. I arrived at Victor's office later that day, my heart pounding as I stepped into the lavish building. His assistant ushered me in, and there he was, standing by the window, his silhouette framed by the city skyline. "Elena," he said warmly, turning toward me. But when he saw the resolve in my eyes, his smile faded. "I can't do this, Victor," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. He stepped closer, his brow furrowing. "Elena, whatever Sophia said." "This isn't about her," I interrupted. "This is about me. About what I can live with. And I can't live with the thought of losing the one person who stood by me through everything, just for the promise of a life that doesn't feel like mine." Victor's expression softened, but his eyes were filled with a quiet desperation. "I can give you so much more, Elena. You deserve more." "And maybe I do," I said, my voice trembling. "But I want to earn it. With Marcus. With us. Not like this." For a moment, he said nothing, his hands clenched at his sides. Finally, he nodded, his shoulders sagging as if the fight had left him. "If that's what you've decided, I won't stand in your way." I placed the earrings on his desk and turned to leave. "Elena," he called after me. I paused but didn't turn around. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "I hope you find the happiness you're looking for." I walked out without another word, feeling both lighter and heavier with every step. Sophia's confrontation came later, though it wasn't what I expected. She cornered me at a cafe, her usual air of control softened by something I couldn't quite place. "You made the right choice," she said, her tone sharp but her eyes tired. "I didn't do it for you," I replied, meeting her gaze. A faint, bitter smile tugged at her lips. "I know. But that doesn't make it any less right." She leaned closer, her voice dropping. "Do you think this life is easy? Being with a man like Victor? It's a constant negotiation. A sacrifice. You made your choice. Now live with it. Because once you choose someone, truly choose them, there's no room for doubt. No room for regret." Her words stayed with me long after she left. For the first time, I saw the cracks beneath her flawless exterior. The sacrifices she had made to maintain a life of luxury and influence. When I returned home that evening, Marcus was sitting at the table, his hands smudged with charcoal, his expression wary. "I went to see Victor," I said, sitting across from him. His eyes searched mine. "And?" "I told him it's over," I said simply. "That I choose us." His relief was almost imperceptible, but I saw it in the way his shoulders relaxed, in the way his eyes softened. "I know I've hurt you," I continued, my voice trembling. "But I want us to fix this. To be better. Together." He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "We've been through worse," he said quietly. "We can get through this too." For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Victor faded from our lives after that, though I heard whispers of him here and there. A new business venture. A charitable donation. Sophia was always by his side, her composure unshaken. I often wondered if he thought about me, about what might have been. But I didn't dwell on it. I couldn't afford to. Marcus and I rebuilt what we had, piece by fragile piece. There were still struggles, still nights where the weight of it all seemed too much to bear. But there were also moments of joy, of love, of the quiet certainty that we were in this together. And in the end, that was worth more than anything Victor could ever offer. Years later, as I stood in the tiny gallery where Marcus was holding his first solo exhibition, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. His paintings, once confined to the corners of our cramped apartment, now adorned walls where people stopped and admired them. They saw the beauty I had always seen in his work, and in him. We still lived simply, but it was a life filled with meaning, love, and the satisfaction of having built something together. The road wasn't easy, but we had chosen it, and each other. I thought about Victor sometimes, not with regret, but with gratitude. He had been a mirror reflecting my desires, my fears, and my strength. His world had tempted me, but it had also forced me to see what truly mattered. As for Sophia, I imagined her sitting in her grand estate, still reigning with her signature poise and sharpness. I hoped she had found her own version of peace. Life didn't hand us a perfect ending, but it gave us something better, a story worth living. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales. What did you think of Elena's choice? Let us know in the comments below. Your support helps us continue to bring you more heartfelt and engaging stories. See you in the next one.